A story that I wanted to talk about for a long time, like I said, that this is okay. First of all, that's not necessary. Okay, I was in the Thumb of Michigan.
Yeah, you guys said it pretty good. You gotta give us a time, year,
yeah.
all this stuff.
And we're in the Thumb of Michigan, okay? And thanks, Jeffrey. He's holding up his thumb because
No, we're counting the lies.
Oh, whoa! This is not. I'm telling. See, that's the thing.
So here's the story.
No, that's a lie.
Funny.
No one believes the story, and I really don't care because it's like one of those moments that I'll always have to live with by myself.
You really don't have many believers.
No, I really
I think
don't.
your dad even said no.
Yeah, no, he was there. My dad was there with me. So we go out hunting. We're on this piece of land. It's in the Thumb of Michigan. This is well before the show. I'm probably 17, 18 years old. I got to be 18 or 19, actually, because I was already in the car business. But anyhow, we had my dad and I were going to go out, and we were setting up 2 blinds. It was on a sugar beet field, and there was a little patch of woods, probably about a square acre of woods, with a big drainage ditch of water going through the fields, and then sugar beets on one side and corn on the other. So you've got the most ideal climate you could ever have for squirrels, because there was good cover in those trees, and then there was all the food that they could ever want, and there were acorn trees too. So it's just like heaven for these guys.
What were you hunting for?
Deer.
Oh, that's right.
Deer.
Okay. Deer. I thought it was turkey. But...
And I had hunted there a few times, and we had shot some really big fox squirrels there. The biggest fox squirrels I had ever seen, bigger than what you're seeing normally, and we got pictures of those and stuff like that. But you're talking like the bodies on them were like this, just real big guys. And so my dad and I went out there, and I remember it was in the morning, and there was a lot of snow. There was like a foot of snow, and it had snowed a lot like the 2 days prior. And it was a Saturday morning. So I walked my dad to his blind because he had never been out there, and then so he's if you're looking at a map here, my dad is it's a perfect map. My dad is in this corner here, and then there's a line right here, and I'm all the way over here, but that's like 1,500 yards away. There's sugar beets here, corn here, woods are here.
What's the weekend look like, Kyle?
Yeah. Oh, like the weatherman? So anyhow, my dad's in that blind. I walk him down. I go walking towards my blind. I get all the way there, and I look, and the door is blown open from the snow, and the whole inside of it has like a foot of snow inside the blind. It's one of the, like a wood, 8x8 blind. You got a duck to get in the doorway and stuff like that. And there's a chair there. And inside, there's all these really big tracks, but I'm not really familiarized with what they are. I'm like, they kind of look like squirrel tracks, but I'm not sure. That's a picture of a fox squirrel for the species, for everyone who knows what I'm talking about. I'm like, kind of look like squirrel tracks, but they're huge. I'm like, I don't know what it is. So I just got in, and I sat down in the chair. Well, I'm sitting there, and about an hour and a half into the hunt, I haven't seen anything, and I doze off. I wake up, looking around, and I had an Ensure. I remember that. I like Ensures, and they're like an old people drink, but that was what I had it was the high protein
The story's
one.
coming back to me.
Yeah, no. And I grab my Ensure, I open it, and I start drinking it. And then I turn to my left. I never close the door to the blind. So the door is facing the woods area, and then my window is facing the corn area, which is all mowed down and covered in snow now, and then behind me would be the sugar beets field. So in the doorway, I spot movement, and I turn and look, and I stay like my gun is across my lap. It's a muzzle loader because we're in the Thumb, and you get one shot with a muzzle loader, and it's got a scope on it, and the scope's all the way zoomed in because I planned on getting something in the woods, which was about 100 yards away. So very unprepared for this. So I turn and look, and I freeze, and standing there is the largest squirrel that God ever created. And you guys can say what you want.
I feel like I need popcorn.
Okay. Now I'm looking. Now there happens to be a small tree right there,
I feel like Kyle's nose is growing.
and you guys can say whatever.
Careful.
You guys,
Are you okay?
from what?
Pants are on fire.
Oh. This is why I'm your only friend. So
Yeah,
anyhow,
that's why.
I look at this thing, and it's sitting up on its back legs, and it's got its tail tucked out, and that sucker is looking me dead in the eyes. Now, at the time, the first thing I think, which is a little sick, but you can say what you want, but this is what I thought. I was like, dollar bill, y'all. I was like,
Kill it.
that squirrel is worth so much money.
Oh,
you
okay,
imagine
yeah.
how much a Cabela's will pay for this freak show of a squirrel, okay? I mean, this thing's massive. So at the time he's standing up against a tree. I make a mental note as it's staring at me at how high it is because it's standing it's sitting in front of the tree and it's standing up on its back, like it's sitting back on its butt with like a dog will with its hand.
Like in that previous picture, kind of?
Yeah. So it's sitting, well, no, I think that one was squatted down, but it's like just like this. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay. I make a mental note of a mark on the tree so I can see how high it is. So if I don't get the squirrel, later on people will believe me because I'll be like, it was exactly this tall. But obviously that didn't work out for me. But anyhow, so I made that mental note, and he's staring at me and he goes like this. He gives me one of these numbers because he's like, I'm in his chill zone. You know, whatever he was doing in there, that's his own business. But he's been going in there alone for a while. Whatever squirrels
Just
are
bachelor pad.
And you know what? I take that back. And here's how big this squirrel was. It wasn't a he. It was a she, and I could tell. That's how big it was. It was sitting back, and I could see its privates. I knew exactly what it was. It was a female. So that's how big, like, I feel like a squirrel's got to be decent sized to know that. But anyhow.
Meh.
So I'm aware it's female. So I'll call her she from now on. She's sitting back, and she's looking at me, and she gives me one of these numbers. She goes, and she's trying to get me to flinch because she's not sure what I am because now I'm in the chair that she's been chilling in. And like a couple times
She's
does it.
She's testing you, yeah.
Yeah, she's trying to get me to move. And I'm just staring at her, and I'm like, and she starts stepping. She gets down on her paws, hands, whatever they got.
Paws.
And she starts stepping in. Hands.
Footsies.
She starts stepping in, and she starts coming into the blind. And I was like, if she comes in that blind, I'm shutting that door behind her, and one of us is leaving. Because you're talking about scrapping with a massive beast, okay? Like, this thing's huge. This isn't, and squirrels are
funny.
I mean, the teeth on this sucker, like,
Yeah, that's
this is like
true.
the size of a coyote. So you're talking a whole nother ball game of squirrel. And I'll tell you the measurement when we're all done. So I'm looking at this sucker, and she steps in, she starts to move closer, and then backs up, starts to move, gives me these numbers again, and I'm just sitting there with my open insure in my hand, my gun across my lap, freaking out. But I'm like, I got to get that door shut behind us, and then one of us is going home tonight.
Maybe she just wants the insure.
So anyhow, squirrel gets a little closer, stops, gives me one of these numbers again. It felt like an eternity. It was probably 2 or 3 minutes long, this entire process, which felt like I could feel my heartbeat in my neck because I'm living something that no one's going to believe. I'm living something that could potentially be like the coolest story ever. And I just know that sometimes in life, you know, when you're living something that you're like, I'll never forget this, and I'll be talking about this for the rest of my life. And then my next decisions are going to have to be what I said I did in the story for the rest of my life. So I'm sitting there, all of a sudden, out of nowhere.
The squirrel starts talking. With a British accent, mind you. How weird.
Shut up. You're ruining my story. So she stops, and she goes berserk and starts running. My first instinct is I flip up my gun, and I aim out the window, and I shoot very quickly. Did not position myself as quickly, as precisely as I would have liked to, but she's running away from me, dead away. Boom, I shoot. And I literally see the impact go just over her shoulder into the snow as she's running away, and off she goes.
Dang.
Into the end. So I'm sitting there so angry that I missed. So it's a muzzleloader. I mean,
it's that
you're
big.
done.
How would you miss?
It was running. It was my scope was too zoomed in, is what it was.
Yeah.
I made reasons why I missed, but and like shoot, so then I call my dad. And he's like, "Did you get something?" I was like, "You got to get over here right now." So my dad walks over, and I show him the tracks, and I show him the mark on the tree, and the mark on the tree said that squirrel was 32 inches tall, just the body without the tail.
That's about as tall as tables and desks usually sit about 32.
That's almost 3 foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost 3 foot
But
tall.
that means that is like up to.
Now I've
up to here.
looked it up. With the the tail is almost always at least the length, if not more of the length than the squirrel. So you factor in the tail there, and you're talking about a 5.5 foot squirrel. And anybody can say, I will go on record. I will put my hand on the Holy Bible. You can put me on a lie detector test. There is a mutant squirrel running around, and everyone's like, well, maybe you thought it was a coyote. I'm like, maybe you don't have friends. I looked at this thing for like friggin' 3 minutes for me to run away I'm not dumb. I know what a squirrel looks like. It was a fox squirrel, perfect colors, perfect resemblance. Not it kind of looked like it. No, it was a fox squirrel. There's no.
Mutant squirrel.
I hunt and fish for a living. It was a fox squirrel. That's exactly what it was. And that sucker was 32 inches tall when I looked at the tree.